going to start the stream. Alright. Let's go ahead and get the ball rolling here. So, whenever we left off, you guys had just done a stakeout at the Juju house. And we're resuming the next morning after having a bit of a night of sleep and rest for the people who didn't do the stakeout. And those who did, they're kind of sleeping in the morning so that they can recover from a late night. The people who were on the stakeout was Irene, Barney, and who was the third person? Cecil, that's right. Cecil was there as well. Charles was intending to go, but he came down with a bout of what was assumed to be food poisoning. He stayed in his room puking all night long, and he's feeling better the next morning and feels like he can, resume activities with the rest of the group. And let me give us a timestamp here. So it is Wednesday, 8 a.m. We're going to do our normal morning breakfast, round table meeting where everyone gets together, talks about the day's events, plans on what they want to address and look into, share notes, all that sort of stuff. Now, during this morning roundtable, though, we have Irene and Barney and Cecil are not present, considering that they just got into their hotels a few hours ago and are soundly snoozing in their bed to try to get a little bit of rest. Now, you guys all knew that they were going to be out late staking the Juju house out and seeing what kind of activity was taking place there. So, you're kind of expecting them not to show up, or, if they do, they'll be dragging butt. Of course, in character, you can play it how you want. You could be concerned about them, wondering if anything happened to them. And you've not really heard anything up to this point. Yeah, we have Iris, Kansas, and Charles are the only people who are here at the morning breakfast. Everyone else is all sleeping in. Yeah, Kansas is definitely developing a reputation. Alright, so I'm going to give those three characters a moment to do their morning introduction, role play, kind of break into the scene here and get the session going.
All right, so I know I've been puking. It's Kansas. Kansas is here at the hotel with me.
Kansas is not. Wait a minute. Yes, Kansas is there. Well, not at the hotel, but at the at the breakfast, at the little diner where you guys have been meeting up and having breakfast. Because up to this point, you guys are not all staying at the same hotel together. You're still kind of spread out, staying at different hotels.
Okay. Charles walks in. He's really white and pasty looking. He's got like a little sheen of sweat on him, and it looks like he's dropped a couple pounds. Not that he had any to drop in the first place. Well, morning, Kansas. How are you doing? Where is everybody? They still at that Juju house? Have you talked to anybody? They heard anything good? Hey, I got a personal question for you, Kansas. Did anyone else mention explosive diarrhea? I don't want to get too graphic detail. I just oh, sorry, Iris. I didn't see you there. Charles looks genuinely embarrassed now. I Where did you guys have for dinner 2 nights ago? I had the pork chops. Did you guys have those or something else? I want to know if it was food or somebody's trying to take me out. I might have to ask the doc. Excuse me, ma'am, can I get some ice water, please?
The waitress acknowledges you and says she'll be right back with your glass of water.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, forget I said anything. I'm starting to feel better. Have you guys learned anything else from the Carlyles?
I wouldn't go so far as to say a dead end, Kansas. I mean, you did pick up quite a bit of information there at Erica's place.
Oh my God, Irene! I didn't see you there. Is Irene there too?
No, Irene's not there.
Okay,
That's
okay.
that's
All right, just
upstairs.
throwing out that explosive diarrhea everywhere. Charles would have been mortified. So dead end, huh? Nothing good at all. Did Irene try out one of her American accents and piss her off? Do tell. What do you mean enlightening? Was he a cultist or something? Seems to be a lot of that going on lately.
And there was also the issue of the other member of the Carlisle expedition that was relatively unknown to media and common knowledge.
So you think they were on that expedition looking for secrets unknown or something? Any more mention of those Kirasari things? Your name don't mean nothing to me. That name don't sound very American. Where's she from? Well, I don't think I'm gonna be able to find any information at the bureau on her. Irish, you think those are just different names for the same kind of blood-sucking cultist? You think they're different in other ways too? I mean, I'm not gonna pretend to know or understand any of this stuff, and I would call BS on myself if I didn't see some things that we all shared experience of in Peru. But I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, magic? They linked by magic? I mean, the closest thing we have to say, I guess I would say some kind of weird science, but I don't know what else to call it. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, I'm hearing you just fine.
Okay, I'm talking a little lower than normal.
No, you're coming across loud and clear for me here.
Cool. So, Kansas, you're saying that aliens or some lost gods are powering cultists with weird ass powers? Is that what we're saying here? I mean, the only God that I know is Jesus Christ. And he reaches in and he grabs he's Catholic. He reaches in and grabs his
Crucifix.
crucifix. I'm not Catholic. My character is. Crucifix.
You have any rosary beads?
If that would be normal for a Catholic to have. He's not like super, whatever. He grew up in a Catholic orphanage.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not, like super, worshiping, then, maybe just, like a cross on a necklace or something like that, that you always like to keep on you.
Yeah, he would. And I'd say that sounds pretty crazy, but I distinctly remember shooting a man in the head and he got up and ran away. And another one tried to put some kind of weird ass worm alien thing in me. So maybe it is aliens. I mean, if anyone's got knowledge about this, I would think our government's gotta have some kind of eyes on the ground. I know Irene or whatever her real name is, their people jumped in there real quick and locked that place down. I know FBI's gotta have some vault somewhere, but they ain't let me get near it.
Now, Roswell has not occurred yet, so no Mulder and Scully here. You're like the precursor to the X-Files.
So was any of that information in your books? Maybe we can like run an ad in the paper. Curious student seeks juju crazy lost aliens. Want to be helpful? Apply. They just think you're crazy anyway. I mean, I gotta be honest. My main goal in this is to protect the American people. You know, if Mr. Carlisle got ate by a lion in Africa, that don't really affect me too much. But when people start getting murdered in New York City and weird symbols are carved on their forehead, then that does concern me. Are we the ants in this, Miss Hahn? Well, that's not very reassuring. You guys seem to have a bit more knowledge on this subject than I do. And here I thought all the cannibals and murderers and other weirdos that go state to state killing young women was scary. What else do you guys know that you haven't told me about this weird alien being?
Kansas just has the first-hand knowledge from his experience with the mask.
And that mask is back in MI6 now?
No, Iris has it.
Iris, do you still have that mask? Would it be foolish of me to look into that to get a glimpse of what you guys already know? I mean, would it be safe?
Did
The
Charles?
last I remember
Did Charles
was
not?
Kansas running through the woods. I didn't look in it before. I was one
Yeah.
of the only ones that didn't.
Oh, okay.
Well, we should probably lay that responsibility on somebody more scientific than me. But since I got two no's, we're gonna leave it at a no. Now, how do you know if these texts are real or just some idiot's ramblings? I mean, like Elias Jackson's books, he put out several books. You know, you don't really know fact from fiction on those. All he's doing is repeating stories, which of course caught up with them. Maybe you could loan me a book or two. Well, if it's anything like gangs, I know you get more information, you round up the leaders, and you bust them all at once. So till I get better information, that's gonna be my plan. Sounds like a pretty serious threat. Did you take those books back with you? Or you got them on you? Maybe underline the important parts. You think she'd let someone else look at them, or did you guys leave on a bad foot? What happened when you read them? Iris, did you read them too? Charles looks at both of them and just kind of doesn't understand why it would affect one person and not the other. Kansas, no disrespect, but you seem to have an adverse reaction anytime you're exposed to whatever this is. First the mask, and then a book. You think it's anything like the hypnotism shows? Like some people can be hypnotized and some cannot. I know from the interrogation room, some people collapse under questioning, some don't. Now we all got different strengths. I mean, maybe we'll find yours one day. Charles kind of gives him a smile. You definitely piqued my curiosity. I kind of want to see him, but I can't just bust in there with a badge so much that'll come back on me. I don't know, Iris. We're all trying to figure this out together. I mean, I think the immediate threat is here in New York. You're talking about stuff in Africa. That really, if it does affect us, it ain't that urgent. I'm still missing 2 bodies. Gee, did we ever uncover anything in our open investigation of the body that was missing, who was responsible? And I did want to open up that FBI investigation into that potentially crooked cop, because that was the last person that I knew had contact with that suspect.
Okay, are you talking about the guy who was in the morgue?
Yeah, I'm talking about the crooked cop
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah, the
had possession of the 3
the
suspects.
Captain Robson.
That one.
Okay. Uh, yeah. I mean, you had contacted your coworker, your buddy, there at the department, and you guys were working on securing the corpse and making sure that it was listed as part of evidence and that nothing was going to happen to it. That it was secured and um, being entered as evidentiary. As far as an investigation on Robinson himself, um, you guys would have to go seek warrants and all that kind of stuff to, um, unless you're just wanting to publicly confront him. Just
I would send it up with the relevant information I had to whoever my supervisor is, because I don't even have jurisdiction in New York. I mean, I know I'm a Fed or whatever, but I'm guessing it's some other agent's field office.
right.
I'm based out of Northern Virginia / DC area, so I
Yeah.
would bring it up to the local guy, and
Okay.
then here's all the evidence.
Okay. Um, Whenever you approached him about that, that would have been something that you could have done while the others were doing their things before you got sick and ended up missing out on your stakeout. Um, the director gets relatively irate and verbose with you about making accusations against decorated, well-known, respected uh, police captains who have accommodations and everything else. Did you present him with um, the ledgers or anything like that? Did you have that as part of your?
Yeah, I would do if the photographs. I would get those, the ones we had taken. I'd get them published first. I'd get a backup, give him that, and then also the timeline showing him as having the fugitives, and then getting them checked out, and basically them disappearing right after. Like, pretty good evidence.
Okay. Of course, photographs, you don't have a quickie 1 hour march or 1 hour photo,
True.
and so that takes a little bit of time to find someone who can process those images for you and uh, get those done. Let's see. It was Sunday. Sunday was whenever she had acquired those. It's now Wednesday, so a couple days have passed. Yeah, I would say, if you went and did that like immediately, got those photographs processed, they would probably be finished up by yesterday, and you could have came in to your director, tossed him down on the desk, and when you first approached him, he was like, we're going to need more evidence than just your assumptions and and word of mouth on the street from a bunch of losers who want to take down a good cop or whatever. So once you get the photos processed, you take them to him and you slap them down on the desk. And, how's this for evidence?
And then the signature from the doctor saying that he got checked out.
Yeah,
signature from the mortician.
All that stuff, and he's like, all right, Agent Jackson, you've piqued my interest a little bit here. Maybe I came down a little bit tough on you, but now I see you've come through and you've done what a good detective should, and come up with some proper evidence. This is definitely um, piquing my interest in you know alternate activities that this captain might have. We'll we'll open up a case on him. We'll need to get a judge to sign off on some warrants so that we can uh, do some surveillance um, and see what else he might be up to.
I appreciate you looking into that, Director, and feel free to take all the credit. This is your jurisdiction. I ain't trying to rain on your parade. If you could stop some corruption in the local police force, I think it'd make the entire FBI look good.
Yes, I'll be sure and send a good word to your supervisors in D.C. Let them know about the good work that you're doing here in D.C. Just mind yourself and don't get in any trouble while you're here.
Hey, I've been in enough trouble for 10 lifetimes. I definitely want to avoid any future. But if you got any information you want me to look to on the case, if you need an extra hand, just let me know. I'm at your disposal while I'm in town.
You're not looking very well. You're looking a little
No, I'm
bit
not.
little yellow. You look like you need some rest. You might want to go lay down a little bit there.
It's just some bad pork chops, but yeah, you're probably right. I'll take it easy for a couple of days. All right, if you need anything else, I'll be here's my room number and hotel.
Yes, yes, yeah. Thank
Or
you.
just leave it up here. I'll check in. Thanks.
Puke all over his desk.
You should get that checked out.
All right, so yeah, you've opened up the case. They're going to place him under government surveillance. See if they can't rattle his cage a little bit and dig up some more information on him. Now, while you guys are all here and you've kind of broken your in character chat here, and I'm gonna interject a little something. I want all of you guys to give me a spot hidden roll.
Back in action.
Look at old Action Jackson. All right, you can go ahead and continue on as you were, and I will interject with the outcome of your rolls when that may or may not become necessary. So you were wrapping up your discussion on um, theories of books and all that kind of stuff, and um, and you were getting ready to talk about your plans for the day. Okay. As you are sitting in your booth talking about um, your research, the library, the books that you found, all this kind of stuff, um, Kansas and Iris, they're involved in conversation. They're really getting into their experience and sharing that with Charles as he seems a little bit overwhelmed and unknowledgeable of exactly what they're talking about. And his eyes kind of glaze over a little bit, not really getting the depth of everything they're talking about, and he kind of loses focus for a moment, and as he does, he's kind of surveying around the cafe there, and you notice an individual a few booths away who is or a few tables away who's kind of looking rather directly, at the group of you. Whenever you lock eyes with him and you notice that he's looking your direction, he kind of uh, looks away and he pops his paper up, in front of his face, and starts to kind of read it a little bit, and you notice that he kind of lowers his paper just a little bit. He kind of looks out over the top of the paper and in your direction again, and then looks back down at the paper again and continues to read. And he kind of sets the paper down. He is looking around the restaurant, the diner, and he kind of looks back over in your direction and meets eyes with you again. Yeah, he's got little tiny holes in the paper. And whenever he meets eyes with you, that last time there after putting the paper down, he raises his hand and he hails over the waitress. And uh,
I'm getting up by now. By the time he's been looking at us 3 times, I'm already paranoid as can be. I'm like, does this dude poison me? Hey,
okay,
Kansas, we got somebody staring at us. You mind walking around and blocking his exit? He seems to have taken an interest. I think we need to talk to him. All right, I'm gonna wait like 30 seconds for Kansas to go, and then I'm gonna walk up and go try to grab a seat next to the gentleman.
all right, he's hailing the waitress. He's asking for his
Pardon me,
check.
Miss Iris. Pardon me, Miss Iris. We'll be right back. I feel like sexist being in this time. Like I just feel like they just poor women. Okay, so he's gonna go up to the gentleman and say, "Sir, may I help you? You seem to have an interest in my table."
Uh, no, 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 sir. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I saw you sitting over there, but I'm sitting here reading my paper, having my breakfast.
All right, I have a really my intimidation skill isn't that good, but I'm had a couple bad days, so I'm gonna try to intimidate him. Even though my persuade's way better, I'm gonna try to intimidate. Look, man, I've had a
Are you
pretty.
standing over his table, or are you pulling up a chair and like
No, I'm
scooting
gonna
up?
pull up a chair and kind of get in his bubble,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna lean in. And I don't know like how help works. Like, can Kansas help me with this? How does that work?
No, Kansas isn't there. I mean, you asked him to block the door, so he went over
Okay,
to the
black as
door of the
escape, but yeah.
cafe.
So I'm gonna lean in and say, look, I've had a pretty shitty couple weeks, and if you're fucking with me, I'm not gonna take it kindly.
I'm sorry. I go ahead and make your intimidation roll.
Really bad rule.
He's like, "Look, Mister, I don't know. I
It's
mean,
not good enough
just
to push.
well, I mean, you You could push it, but I mean, if you're worried about your skill, then
I might get beat up by an old dude. I don't know what does this guy look like?
okay, so he looks like about a middle-aged white businessman. He's dressed in a suit. He has a fedora hat kind of setting on the table, you know, at the spot next to him, and he's sitting there dining by himself with his paper. It looks like it's the current morning paper that he's reading, and looks like he just finished up his plate of breakfast. And
All right, let's try
he's
a
he's
different skill because
he's
that one
bigger.
obviously is not working.
He's bigger than Charles. Of course, that's not saying
Everyone is,
much.
yeah, everyone is bigger than me. There's Girl Scouts out there out front selling cookies right now. All right, since the intimidation didn't go too good, I'm gonna say, look, I'm sorry. I've been sick the last couple days. I'm not feeling great. Let me back up. My name's Charles. You seemed like you kept looking over. Maybe I'm mistaken. Is there something that I can help you with? I'm gonna try to persuade.
Okay, give me a not for Charles. This is for Kansas. Kansas, since you're wanting to know if he looks like one of the people at Erica's mansion, give me a idea roll. You don't recognize him directly as being someone that you specifically recognize from there, although uh, he's uh, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Um, it's not a direct recognition. You don't recognize him directly from someone at Erica's. Um, would he potentially fit in with that group? Yeah, potentially. He's not as hardcore looking as them. A lot of them look like they were, you know, cut, worked out, hard ass, kind of guys. This guy looks more like a businessman, but it's not to say that um, that it still couldn't be someone that Erica sent to go keep an eye on you. You can decide if you want to spin the luck or not. Um, I'm not going to tell you what spending the luck will grant you until you do that. It could be something, it could be nothing. And so you just kind of take that chance. Okay. Spending the 6 luck, you definitely know that it is not someone from her estate. You you know for a fact that you have not seen this person before. Um, in fact, there's um, you think that you might have seen this individual at one other point while you've been here in town. Um, you can't really place exactly when or where, but he does. Now that you're looking at him a little bit closer, he has kind of a familiar face. Like maybe you've seen him here in the diner before, and it was just kind of like a subconscious, kind of recognition type of a thing. Okay, now back over to to Charles. So Charles, you're trying to persuade him now at this point.
Yeah, since I'm not very intimidating in my Doc Holliday state.
Okay. Yeah, kind of hacking up a lung and.
Yeah, I'm just having a bad day.
All right. So he's like, "Look, Mister, I was reading my paper. I looked over in your direction. I mean, people look at people all day. I mean, I'm not trying to come on to you or anything like that. You know, you're not my type, but um, you just have a look about you that's, no offense. It's different, and so I was just looking."
Charles looks at him kind of sideways, doesn't know what to say about that because it's true. I have a 1 in psychoanalysis. I'm going to roll that.
Hmm.
Figured that was going to happen. Charles
Yeah.
gets up. He doesn't say anything. He just walks away and just sits back down at his table.
Charles
Completely
admits
struck out on this one.
Charles admits, yeah, I guess I am kind of funny looking, and people have stared at him, in his life in the past, because he he does kind of stand out a bit. He doesn't have your run of the mill every day, 80% of the population type looks, and so sometimes people's eyes, do kind of drift in his direction a little bit.
He goes and sits back down with Iris and says, "Can I ask you a personal question? And I want your honest opinion. If you were going to rate me a 1 to 10 on the attractive scale, like, what would I be? And be true, because this guy's over here staring at me like I'm a freak show. I can take it if I don't hold nothing back. Just tell it like it is. I know if you're lying."
How while they're having this conversation, Kansas, you're standing over there by the door, and you see um, Charles get up and walk back to the booth. By this time, the waitress is bringing the check over to the gentleman who was sitting at the table. He glances one more time over towards um, the table, towards the booth where Charles and Iris are at, and he gets up and walks over towards the door. "What are you doing?" All right. So as he's walking by you, he kind of give me a psychoanalysis roll. Yeah, psychology could work too. Very nice.
Nice.
Okay, so as he's walking by as he's walking by Kansas to get out of the door, he says, "Excuse me, sir." As he slips around you. "Yes, you may take that." Kansas notices some nonverbal communication, psychology related types of things with this individual. One, he recognizes you, he knows who you are, but he's trying to act like you're just some Joe Schmo. Um, he's just trying to act nonchalant as he passes by you, but you get that vibe, that glance, that nonverbal uh, that look, that expression on his face, that he's giving you kind of a look without trying to look like he's giving you that look. Like, I'm keeping an eye on this guy as I'm walking past him, kind of a thing. And then he walks on out of the door, and as he exits the cafe, you can see him kind of glance over his shoulder as he picks up his pace just a little bit. It's not enough that most people would recognize, but because of your hard success there, you kind of pick up the fact that he's trying to hurry uh, away from the cafe a little bit. And so, Kansas, um, you were leaving to go tail him. Okay, I'm going to need 2 rolls from you, Kansas, here. One is going to be a spot hidden roll. The other one is going to be a stealth roll. The 2 will work in conjunction for you to tail him, and because I don't think there's a skill that is specifically for tailing someone.
Is this the first time you've actually had some really good dice rolls in a row
I think it
since
is.
we've started playing?
I mean,
I
Kansas
think it is. You've
like,
had the worst dice luck.
He's like on a roll tonight. In fact, I think he's probably not going to want this session to ever end because he'll probably never get these rolls again. Yes, you can.
Still my mojo.
You can tick stealth. As Kansas walked by Charles and he was heading up towards the front, he uh, he was really scheming and conniving, and he slipped Charles' dice out of his pocket and put his dice into Charles's pocket instead. All right, so with your spot hidden and your stealth roll, you go out into the crowd. The man kind of blends into the streets are busy. This is Wednesday morning in New York City, and so there's people. You guys met at the cafe at 8. It's probably around 9 or so now. So we're talking like major rush hour traffic, kind of thing. So there's people all over the place. The guy kind of blends into the crowd, but you're able to keep your focus on him, and you kind of blend in to the crowd as well, and you continue to trail him as you walk along. Now for Charles and Iris, were you guys getting up from your seats and trying to follow Kansas?
I'm with those crappy rolls I'm playing. I'm completely oblivious to anything else going on right now. So
Okay.
I didn't notice Kansas leave.
Okay.
Unless he signaled us somehow.
Yeah, he did not say that he signaled you. He just said that he was leaving to follow the guy. So, um, we'll say that you were facing, the way that the booth is positioned to the front door. We'll say that your back is to the front door, and so you didn't see it. But Iris did, because Iris did state that, oh, there goes Kansas out the door. I don't want to lose him, or whatever it was that she said in character. Yeah, I don't wish to lose him. So Iris, you're going to have to try to get out of the cafe and get to the door and get outside and try to keep Kansas in sight. So give me a spot hidden roll. Okay, as you get to the door, you look out onto the streets of New York City, and you look around, and you do not see Kansas. He's disappeared into the crowd. You kind of curse under your breath a little bit.
All right. Well, if she's getting up, I'll go jump and take a look.
Okay. You follow. She's getting up from the booth. She says, "There goes Kansas. I don't want to lose him." And you follow her.
Yeah, poor Charles is still hurting.
You see her stop, at the on the sidewalk as she exits the cafe. The waitress is chasing after you. She says, "Mister, you haven't paid your check yet." She
How
distracts.
much is the water?
Oh, didn't you guys have some breakfast and stuff too?
No, Charles isn't eating anything.
Well, Iris is with you as well. Did Iris have something? And so you being the man, you're assumed to be the. Oh, you did state that Kansas left money on the table? Okay, I didn't catch that part, Kansas. Alright, so it looks like Kansas covered it then. Kansas left some money on the table. Were you paying for your meal and for Miss Hahn's? Kansas? Okay.
A ladies' man.
So in that case, the waitress is assuming, as people would do in that time, that the man is paying for the meal, and so she's going um, to stop, Charles and say, you haven't paid for your lady friend's meal.
Oh yeah, all right. Okay. He reaches into his pocket and starts handing her money,
All right.
even though he knows Iris has millions more dollars than he ever will.
And so
He's not gonna let $2 make him look bad.
so the waitress coming up to stop you and distracting you and also you're looking out, you're kind of torn here. You lose sight of Kansas in the crowd, and he's disappeared. You're kind of just left here standing, outside the front of the diner without any clue as to where Kansas just went to. Sure. You can you can push your roll. What? Um, well, before you push your roll, though, we need to talk about um, purpose and uh, complications for you pushing it. And so purpose is you saying that you're rushing around in the crowd and um, maybe making a bit of a scene. Um, um, Potentially, maybe you annoy some people as you're kind of pushing through the crowd and trying to find Kansas and all that stuff. Is that kind of how you are seeing Iris acting out this? Okay. So go ahead and push your roll.
Well played.
Okay. So you first walk out and you don't see Kansas, and then you like step up onto a lamp post, and you kind of shimmy up the lamp post a little bit, kind of making a bit of a sight of yourself. Yeah, and you peer out across the over the top of all of the crowd, and uh, just as you're about to give up, you're kind of making a spectacle of yourself, a lady, all proper and everything, shimmying up this lamppost, to look out over the crowd. You spot Kansas's hat. Kansas's hat stands out, different than everyone else, his hat, it's not your typical kind of a style. And being knowing Kansas relatively well, you're able to spot his hat. However, the sad part is that he is across the street heading into an alley as he's following this guy, um, and you're going to have to make your way through the crowd and try to push your way over here, and you're going to lose sight of him once you get down off of the post, and it's going to be kind of a difficult process for you to basically you're just going to be acting on his last known direction as you try to follow him. All right, so back to Kansas. Kansas, you are following this man who was in the diner. He's kind of making his way through the crowd, kind of weaving in and out the other individuals on the street, and he kind of um, looks over his shoulder a little bit, uh, not seeming to recognize you following him, and he ducks off into an alley.
Oh, okay. Let's go get him. Charles grabs his stomach. It's still rumbling a little bit, and goes to keep up with Iris.
Okay. How are Iris and Charles tackling the task of making their way through the crowd and trying to get to the alley and um, stay more or less on Kansas's heels?
I mean, how crowded is the street?
Pretty crowded. I mean, imagine New York City, rush hour, people going to work and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I'm huge, so no, I'm just kidding. I'm really not that big. I'm gonna say I think I'm gonna be sick, and try to see if people will move away when I'm gonna try to puke.
Okay, so you're trying to
I'm gonna
uh,
bluff it.
bluff. Is that the actual
I don't
skill?
think it's a skill.
I think persuade,
All right,
maybe.
let's do it.
Or you could um, intimidate.
There we
Okay,
go. He might actually be sick.
okay. Um, Another thing that you could be doing is you could be, pulling out your badge and saying
No, I don't want to do that.
you don't want to do that. Okay, that's fine.
No, it's not my jurisdiction. I don't want to be the rogue FBI agent causing attention to himself.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so however it is that you do, you manage to persuade people to kind of part way and allow you a bit of a clearer path than what you would otherwise, as you um, you make your way through the crowd to try to keep up with Charles.
Not my finest moment, Miss Hahn, but let's go get Kansas before I actually do puke.
Iris, you can make your own roll for that to see whether or not you and whoa, what in the heck happened?
I can hear you talking. I don't know if that's going through Fantasy Ground or I guess Discord.
No, it's Fantasy Ground. I just lost.
Yeah, I'm showing
Ground.
host lost.
Yeah, so I just lost my game. So I'm gonna load that back up here. That is the first time that has happened. It's usually really stable. So I'm relaunching the yeah, I mean, you guys wouldn't have crashed out. It would have just disconnected from the host. So I'm just relaunching the host here. All right, it's back up again. And it looks like my client is yeah, I'm going to have to relaunch it to join the game again. I will give that just a second for the client to finish connecting. So anyway, what I was saying is that Iris is going to have to make her own roll, and this is going to determine whether or not she is also able to keep up with Charles as he makes his way through the crowd um, and also make her way to Kansas as well. And so there's always the potential that Iris could get separated from Charles in the crowd of people. Alright, the client is back up, and we're back in business. And as soon as you finish connecting, you can make your roll. Okay, Iris is trying to push her way through the crowd, and she can see, Charles, kind of persuading people to part and move away and everything. And then it's, they kind of make way for him, then they kind of, converge back in a little bit. And Iris is trying to, be nice and, excuse me, beg your pardon, lady coming through. And you're not able to be quite as effective as Charles was, and you end up getting separated from Charles. Of course, you do know the general direction that you're heading, and you can still go there. It's just that you're not going to get there nearly as quickly as Charles, and he may or may not still be there, depending on what he does when he arrives at the alley. And we'll just play that out through the narrative. Okay. For Kansas, I don't want to reveal too much to the others, but I basically want to know from you: are you going to continue to follow this person regardless of where he goes in a general sense. Your skill was definitely adequate to be able to do this, to follow him and to do so stealthily. Okay. So you make a few turns in the alleys, and up ahead you hear some voices talking. Now at this point, um, once you hear the voices talking, you can stay clearly out of sight, and you can just try to listen. It is going to be a hard roll. You can hear the voices, you can't make out what they're saying. So it's going to be a hard roll for you to make out what they're saying. Or you can try to get a little bit closer, making it an easy roll for you to hear what they're saying, but you're going to have to make another stealth in order to do so. Okay, so go ahead and give me your stealth roll. Oh, that is not going to do it. All right, we will play that out here in just a moment. All right, back to Charles. Charles, you get to the alley where Kansas uh, was last seen by Iris. She kind of pointed off in this direction. He's going down that alley. You headed across the street and in the direction of that alley. You get there. You don't see Charles. You don't know where he went to. What are you going to do?
I mean, I guess I'll look.
Okay. Are you going to like try to look for footprints in the snow? Remember, it is
Well,
winter.
did we get? We got separated from Iris too, right?
You did get separated from Iris. You look back
My
behind
priority
you.
would be Iris.
Okay, so you look back.
I'm gonna turn
behind-
around and look for her.
So you get to the alley and you see footprints in the snow going down this alley. Okay, but you also look back behind you. You notice that Iris is not with you anymore. And so
Yeah, I turn around and look for Iris.
So you're going
Kansas
to,
is a big boy. He can
so-
take care of himself.
So you're going to sit there and you're going to wait for Iris to get to you. Okay. She will eventually get there, but it's going to take her a longer period of time to get through the crowd. Jumping back to Kansas now. Kansas, you try to creep a little bit closer to the voices that you hear. You come around the corner and you peek, and you can see the guy who was in the cafe, and he's talking to some other guys in the alley. Um, they have jackets on, and um, they have hoods kind of pulled up on their jackets, and you can't really see their faces or anything from this particular angle, and you can't hear what they're saying. And so you creep a little bit closer, and the hands are gloved, so you can't tell race or anything at this particular juncture. And as you're sneaking closer, you kick a bottle that goes clicking, clacking, and skittering across the snow, and it kind of slides across the ice, and it kind of crashes into the wall and breaks. And you curse yourself, and the individuals um, they look back a little bit, Um, and you can see the guys who were talking to this guy in the alley. They say, "That's it, man. Give us your wallet now." Give me a psychology roll. You cannot tell if it is an act or not. It looks like to you like maybe they were just starting to mug this guy. You couldn't hear what they were saying, but now you're close enough where they can hear, and it looks like the sound of the knowledge that someone else is here has spurred these guys to be more impatient. And so one of them like pops out a knife and he says, you know, "Hand it over now or you'll get shivved. No more fooling around." Okay. Um, Give me another stealth roll, but I'm going to give you a penalty die on this because of the fact that you fumbled. Oh yeah.
This is great. There's the Kansas we know.
And so Kansas, he curses himself as the bottle goes skittering. He's thinking that, okay, maybe I can recover from this and duck back behind something. And as he does, he slips on the ice and he kind of crashes into the dumpster, while he's there. And he's clearly announcing his presence. And the guys that are the muggers, they um, let me make a roll here to see whether or not they're ballsy enough to stay or not. Okay, the one guy says, "Look, man, there's someone else here. Let's just get out of here." And he like tugs at the jacket of the other guy, and as he does, as you're recovering from slipping, you just kind of quickly glance. You notice as he's tugging at the other guy's jacket, the hood kind of pulls back a little bit, and you can see that he's a black guy. And then the two of them kind of turn, and they start running down the alley. he looks back at you and he's like, "You? Uh, it, it's, what are you doing here?" Well, I guess I should be saying thank you. I don't know. Where do you hang out at? Are you from New York? Have you been here long? Oh, I come in there relatively frequently. It's a good place to eat. Oh, you're a pissant. You can sense some deception in his voice. It's almost like he's trying too hard to get your favor. Um, there's there's something about him that is just unsettling, and it's like he's trying to thank you for helping him, but at the same time you can kind of sense a little bit of an annoyance at the same time that is very, very subtle and hidden. But it's there nonetheless that you can detect, and you can also tell that um, he's not he's not lying about having been to the diner occasionally, every now and then, but you can tell that he's trying to brush your questions aside, and you notice that some of the questions that he's asking you could give off more information than what the surface appears. You know, he's asking you if you're from New York, how long you've been here, where have you been, where you might know him from. Um, all of those kinds of things. I mean, they seem relatively innocent on the surface, from someone who's trying to figure out where you know someone from. But I, you can tell that he's kind of probing for information a little bit. Uh, uh, I I don't know what. I look, man. I was eating breakfast and I come down the alley here and I get jumped by these Negroes. I mean, you gotta watch out for these guys. I should have known better than trying to take a shortcut to work. And he's kind of stammering a little bit. Um, he doesn't seem quite as practiced as Irene whenever it comes to creating fictional uh, stories and covering your misdeeds. And you've learned to catch on to these things as you've seen a professional at work with Irene. Give me a spot hidden roll. All right. You can notice his hands shifting in his pocket as he's talking to you. All right, give me a. Do you have fast draw as one of your talents? I think you do, don't you? Or oh, okay. I think someone has fast draw. All right, I'm going to give you an opposed. Um, for quickness, what is that going to be? I think dexterity. Okay, so we're going to make an opposed dexterity roll. All right, he gets the jump on you as you reach for your gun. I mean, you're bundled up with a jacket and everything. You notice his hands shifting in his pocket. You reach, you go to reach for it. Yes, I should have had that hidden in the identify, shouldn't I? I noticed that after I made the roll that it wasn't a hidden identity. Okay, so anyway, this guy's hand is shifting in his pocket, and you're at point blank range. And maybe that's what I'm doing here. Maybe I'm trying to get you to think that this guy is a bloody tongue cultist, whenever actually he's just some guy. And so Kansas is going to gun him down whenever he's just worried about his safety. All right. So anyway, the guy sees Kansas reaching for his gun, and but he gets the jump on Kansas. And for point blank range, I think it's a bonus die, isn't it? I can't remember. Let me look in the rules here real quick. Combat. Combat flowchart. There we go. Surprise attack. Allow skill roll. Does the target anticipate the attack? Attack gains a bonus die. Okay, now you do have the opportunity to defend. You can still dodge. Yes, you roll dodge against that. If you roll at least a regular success, then you successfully dodge. And that is not going to happen. In fact, you dodge into the shot instead of away from the shot. You get hit by the shot, and then you also step on a piece of ice, and you slip, and you fall prone. As you try to kind of dodge from this shot. Take 4 points of damage. You hear a shot. You hear a. This is a 22, so it is not very loud at all. It almost sounds like a firecracker, kind of, kind of a pop. It's. In fact, you might even kind of discount it as being a backfire of a car. You are right there on the street, and so give me a listen check to see whether or not you can discern the difference between it and the noise on the street. Normally, I wouldn't have you make a roll, but because this is a 22, it's so subtle, and you have all the noise on the street and everything that it actually does require a roll to notice it. Plus, he's got the gun in his pocket, and he's kind of shooting from the hip, kind of a thing. Okay, Iris does not hear it, or at least if she does hear it, it just kind of registers as being just background noise, noise from the street. However, Charles, with his training and everything, FBI, he definitely does know that this is a gunshot. Just the sound of the percussion of the shot. He can tell that it is a gunshot, but it's either very distant or it's a small caliber. It does echo around a little bit in the alleyways, and you can't really tell exactly where it's coming from. But you can get a general direction. Yeah. Okay.
Iris, I think that was a small caliber handgun. I'm not certain, though. We should go check that out. If you guys have a second, look up 22 versus ballistic gel. It'll actually go right through a skull, no problem.
Oh yeah, 22 is a perfectly good assassination weapon. I mean, that is really one of the few guns that you can put a suppressor on that it actually does make it, hardly audible at all. And
And they can fragment and bounce around the body too when they
yep,
break into pieces.
yes, that they do. They go in, they just bounce around in. So it has enough energy to penetrate the skull, but it doesn't have enough energy to exit the skull. And so it just kind of bounces around inside and wreaks all kinds of havoc. All right, so Kansas, you just fell flat on your back. Air knocked out of you as you slipped on the ice, and you finish. I was nice and I had the gun not fly out of your hand whenever you fell. However, you are going to take a penalty die on your shot because you just landed flat on your back and the wind knocked out of you as you're trying to pull your gun and shoot this guy. I know that will cancel out your bonus die. Yes, you do. Oh, actually, I need for him to dodge, but chances are you're going to. Yeah, he fails his dodge. So you hit him. If you spend 4 luck, that will be an impaling wound, which does max plus roll damage. In fact, I think there should be an option on your roll to where you can choose that, but I might be mistaken. Yes, he takes 12 plus whatever your roll is. Okay, so he takes 20 damage. Okay. Let me see. Oh yeah. You, even after slipping on the ice and everything, you hit back. Wind is knocked out of you. You finish pulling out your gun. You point it at him. Boom! You pull the trigger, and right through the heart. And he kind of grasps at his chest, and his eyes kind of have this look on them, almost like of disbelief. And he says, "Master, I failed." And he falls to the ground. Now, as the 45 goes off, Charles hones in on the shot. I mean, you had one shot. A secondary shot is always easier to trace in. That's why snipers never shoot more than once from the same location. But you focus in on the second shot, and you make a beeline down the alley. Iris is there with you. She doesn't hear the first shot. The second shot, she can hear a report, but she doesn't know exactly where it's coming from. But Iris, you see Charles take off down the alley. A combination of knowing which direction to go, along with the footprints that are in the snow, you make your way down the alley, make a turn, come down another alley, and you see Kansas getting up off of the ground. His back is covered in snow, and there's a man laying beside him with staining the snow red.
Do I see a gun next to the man?
No, you don't.
All right, well, first thing I do is I want to make sure there's no threat. So I go over and I look around and see if there's anyone else, like another bad guy.
Okay, give me
Is there anyone else, Kansas?
Give me a spot hidden.
He pulls his gun out and he's waving it. Where you hit at? I have some first aid. Where you hit at? Yeah, hold still. Charles reaches down and rips Kansas' shirt. He's not gonna rip his own shirt.
Nice. Kansas is wearing his jacket, his winter coat, by the way.
Yeah, well, guess we'll find out soon enough. Let me pick these dice up. Oh, this don't look so good. Yeah, we're gonna want to get you to a doctor before this gets any worse.
You can first aid yourself.
Yeah, how does that work? Does it give you a bonus dice if someone else helps, or do they have to roll to succeed?
I would play it out as an assistance would give a bonus die, as long as they're skilled in it.
What do you consider skilled, like above a certain level, or have more than 1 point?
Yeah, anything more than default.
All right, and you said you're at default, Iris. Kansas or well, I'm not at default, but I already failed it. So,
Okay.
all right, keep pressure on it. We're gonna get you to the hospital.
So what this is I mean it's a small caliber, flesh wound. He got shot in the arm. It's not life threatening. Um, you know, Not really that big of a deal. He's not going to die from it. He doesn't need emergency first aid to be able to live or anything like that. So, just basically keeping some pressure on it is going to be sufficient for, you know, all of your practical purposes of getting him to some proper care. Now, what about the guy on the ground?
I mean, if we know he's not gonna die.
Oh, the guy on the ground is laying in a pool of red snow.
I mean, I'll go check a pulse. Is he dead?
He is deader than dead.
Well, Kansas, nice shot. I'll give you that. So, what exactly happened here? That's Kansas, our heartbreaker. Who was he? The guy at the restaurant, or the dead guy? Oh, wow, that don't look good. Everyone just saw us at the restaurant, and you followed him out, and now he's dead. That don't look good at all. I hope he's got a gun on him. All right.
You don't see
I start looking around for a gun.
you don't see a gun, so at least not visibly.
Fingerprinting's a thing, right?
You see a hole in the pocket of his jacket.
I mean, Kansas has a bullet in him. So unless this dude's pretty skilled at throwing paper clips, I'm going to go. I'm not going to touch. I'm not going to put my fingerprints on anything, but I'm going to use some of my, I guess, the other guy's coat to kind of just feel around and check for the gun.
Okay, you feel inside his right coat pocket where his hand is is still kind of wedged in his pocket, and you can feel as you feel the outside of the pocket, you can feel a revolver in the pocket.
All right, let's check this guy. I'm gonna pull out his ID. Let's see who this guy is.
Okay, you roll him over where you can pull his ID out of his. I don't know. I don't know if guys in that day and age kept their ID in their wallet in the back pocket or if they kept it inside their jacket. But wherever it was typical for guys to keep their IDs at in that day and age, you reach in to pull out his ID. When you flip
it says cultist number 4.
when you flip it all open, you see that it says it has a New York identification, and it says Bob Johnson. But the more interesting thing, the shocking thing, the gut-wrenching thing that you see when you flip open his wallet is a police badge.
Congratulations, Kansas, you're a cop killer. This don't look good at all. Bob Johnson. Does it say what precinct or whatever?
It has a badge number on the shield, but the ID is just like a New York driver's license. But the badge, it's not like a detective picture badge kind of thing. It's like a shield. That's
Mr. Peters, Miss Hahn, in my professional opinion, we should get the hell out of here. This don't look good at all. We was last seen at that restaurant. Yeah, let's get out of here. And we're going to have to get that bullet treated somewhere outside of a hospital. Good thing we know somebody. If no one's showing up, if they don't have a crowd around us, I'm going to hurry everyone out.
No, you guys are
and I'm going to take
you guys are in some back alley. I mean, if you linger too long, someone's going to come across you. But at this point, you guys are far, and you know that as hard as it was for you to hone in on this sound, well, that was the 20. That was the 22. When the 45 went off, that was more definitive. But at this point, you're just hoping that no one's going to come lurking and checking out to see what the noise was.
All right, we're gonna get moving. I don't know what kind of technology level they do. They do blood sampling in this day and age.
Well, they wouldn't have like DNA sampling, but
I know that, but not like blood type or whatever.
Yeah, A positive.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna take his wallet, and I'm gonna take his gun, and I say, all right, let's get the hell out of here. And then once we are kind of walking, I'm gonna be like, walk calmly. We're gonna split up. We're gonna meet back at the hotel later. Miss Cyrus, you're staying there. You can go tonight. Kansas and myself will meet you up. Please tell the doctor to meet at my hotel tonight, and buy yourself another pair of shoes and get rid of those. I don't want him looking at our boot prints. And if you could, I'd suggest buying yourself a used pair, or maybe scuffing them up a little bit so they don't look brand new. Hey, I don't know the copyright laws around here.
Copyright.
Hey, you have a minute in a real question room, Mr. Peters? They got a whole don't ask, don't tell, and it normally is just a lot of beatdowns. No good's gonna come out of killing a cop. You best making this look like a robbery. Hey, we can talk about what to do later, but right now I think we just need to get away from here so we got some options to talk about.
Are you splitting up to go in different directions? There's multiple. So the alley had split, and gone down a couple different ways. So are you going to all head back out to the main street together, or are you going to go different ways? Are you going to time out um, your emergence from the alleyways? How are you guys going to
If
go
we're in a
about?
safe area that like a woman could walk around by herself, then I would like to send Iris back by herself. Kansas, I want to take back with me. So basically, I want Iris to let Cecil know to meet at my hotel to come treat Kansas,
Okay.
and then we'll meet back up at Iris's hotel tomorrow.
You guys are not in a
And
bad area of town. I mean, this is a relatively nice area of town where your guys' hotels are at and everything else. Now, of course, there could always be crime in isolated crime in any particular place. But as you were coming down the alleys before, you didn't notice like hobos, all along the alley everywhere and riffraff and everything else. I mean, they seemed like they were pretty vacant. So you get a good feeling that Iris would not be threatened as she was leaving.
we'll escort her up to like a main street so we can at least. I don't want to send her down the back alleys by herself,
Okay.
but we'll get her up to like a main street before we split off.
Okay.
In Kansas, are you wearing any kind of like cowboy hat or anything crazy? Yeah, you're gonna want to get rid of that.
Oh,
Anything identifying feature.
Kansas cannot get rid of his hat. That's like his signature item.
Yeah, well, you can hide it for a little while, at least until he gets back to wherever he's going. I mean, no one's seen him, but we also don't want to stand out in the middle of New York.
Painted pink.
He just puts a pair of sunglasses on. All right, change out your shoes and maybe take that coat off. And Kansas, you got a bullet. We got a bullet one. We got to fix. So we'll meet up tomorrow. Miss Hahn, please send Cecil to my hotel as soon as you can, and
His
don't tell nobody about this until we talk.
You can tell that Kansas's jacket is kind of stained red a little bit around the hole, where it obviously went into his arm. That he's got some blood on his where it's uh, been coming out of his wound that's soaked into the fabric of his jacket a bit. Um, well, I guess what kind of jacket are you wearing, Kansas? Is it a leather jacket or is it a linen jacket? A leather jacket. Okay, maybe not so much then. He wouldn't have um, you wouldn't have blood soaked into the fabric then in that case. All right, so you guys make your way out of the alley. I want you to give me a um, not stealth, a willpower roll. Give me a willpower roll to see how composed you are as you. Okay. All of you maintain your composure very well as you exit the alleyway. In whatever method you're doing so, whether it's all together, splitting down separate ways, uh, you all manage to stay composed as you exit the alley and try not to draw attention to yourselves. You make your ways back to the hotel as instructed, planned, and you go about trying to cover up your misdeeds for the morning. Now back over to Charles. You said you were taking the gun and you were taking the wallet. What are you going to do with those?
So, out of character, I would probably have more information than I actually have in real life. Or in character, I would probably have more information of a good way to get rid of that. So, the main thing I wanted to do is hide his ID to put back, identifying the body and putting us on the scene. Besides that, I just kind of want to get rid of his gun in general.
Okay. If
So
you're
what
wanting
I
to make it look like he got killed in a mugging, then
Yep.
what you would want to do is you would want to look like someone took his wallet and fled with it and tossed the wallet while keeping the cash.
Okay, cool. So I'll wipe everything down as best I can so there's no fingerprints, and then I'll just throw the wallet after I wipe it down, like under a dumpster or something.
Okay.
Pretty close. Keep everything
Just
else in
looking
it, and
like
then
it
I'll
was tossed by whoever was fleeing.
yeah,
Okay.
and then I'll keep the gun because a criminal would probably want a firearm to try to sell on the black market.
Mm-hmm. And
Um, Go ahead.
and as far as the gun goes, you could pick any dumpster to toss it into at any point. You could
I just dump it in the river.
you could put it down the the gutter, down the drainage, a manhole,
Yeah.
a drainage thing in the street. You could toss it in the river. There's um, yeah, and you probably are wearing gloves since it's winter. I mean, these guys were wearing gloves, so
Yeah.
so it would be sensible for you to be wearing gloves as well. But yes, you can take the pistol and you can try to dispose of it in any numerous different ways.
I'm going to get rid of the pistol a lot further away than close to the scene because if someone was stealing it, then it'd probably be more likely to sell it like on a black market or something.
Okay.
So I will hold on to the gun until we get a little further away.
Okay. And so you tuck it into your pocket and you try to remain nondescript with it, and which is no hard task for you. You're well trained and adept at this, um, and you just let me know when and where you're planning on tossing the pistol as we progress through the story. But in the meantime, I'm going to just assume that you have it on you until you tell me that you have taken an opportunity to dispose of it. So,
Okay, sounds good.
so you start heading back to your hotel, which is relatively close. I mean, all you guys picked this diner as a place to meet because it was kind of a relatively central location from your hotels that you're staying at. And so your hotel's not all that far away. You head back to your hotel rooms and you contemplate the day's events. Um, does this kind of put a damper on any kind of plans that you may have had for the day? Are you basically lying low for the whole day, waiting for Irene and Cecil and Barney to wake up and contact you, or are you going to try to do anything else?
I mean, I'm just happy that my boyfriend killed somebody for looking at me wrong.
Okay, so then in this case, you guys go back to your hotels. You hole up, you stay quiet, and the clock ticks on. And this just seems like the longest morning of your life. You jump at every sound. You wonder when someone's going to come knocking at your door. Coming to interrogate you um, for this murder. This cop in the alleyway, and um, eventually, each of you gets a message from the front desk that your companions have uh, called um, to speak to you. And when I say your companions, I'm talking about Irene, Cecil, and Barney, because they don't know what's happened. So they're waking up from uh, their late nap, sleeping in the morning, and they're calling to see if anyone is around and what's going on. And so Barney is not here, so I'm not going to speak for what he's doing. Maybe perhaps he's sleeping in a little bit later, and or maybe he's troubled, over last night's events or whatever. But as far as Cecil and Irene go, uh, you guys tell me what you do when you wake up and how you're going to uh, try to contact your companions that you have no idea what they're doing since you've been sleeping all morning. Iris, yes, if you were calling Cecil, then perhaps maybe that's what woke Cecil up, was, a message being delivered to his room. No, this day and age, well, Iris's might, Barney's might, but the rest of you would not have phones in your rooms. There would just be a phone at the front desk, and someone would bring a message to your room and slip it underneath the door, a telegram, kind of a thing. What's happening at the moment, Iris, is that you called Cecil, woke him up, or you called Cecil's hotel, and they sent him. You said, "I have an urgent message for Cecil Barnes. Um, could you deliver it to his room, please?" They went up. They uh, slipped a message underneath the door, knocked on the door to see if maybe he was there. Woke him up. He came to the door and he got the message that was at the door. Yeah, Cecil did sleep on the stakeout, so he's more rested, and so he gathers his stuff and he comes at the request of Iris. Now Irene, whenever Irene eventually wakes up, then she also it's up to Irene what she chooses to do once she wakes up. But unless someone specifically called her to leave a message for her, then she wakes up not knowing what's going on and is just going to reach out to contact someone. Now that's fine. Whatever instructions you gave Cecil will follow those. I'm sure. So if you told him to go to Kansas's hotel, then he could have gone to Kansas's hotel. So basically, your message would be something like, Cecil, your assistance is needed, or Kansas needs your assistance. Meet him at his hotel room for further information. You'd probably be kind of vague like that because you wouldn't want to leave a message saying, hey, Kansas just got shot when we killed this cop in the alleyway. Hey, you were all there. You're accomplices. Especially the man with the gun.
Would it be bad if I arrested him?
I guess that would be up to Charles what he would do. And I guess at this point it kind of really depends on what Charles believes. I mean, if Charles truly believes Kansas's story, he believes that Kansas is a good person. That Kansas wouldn't just kill some guy without good cause and self-defense. And he obviously does have the gunshot in his arm.
I mean, if that guy managed to shoot Kansas after his heart exploded, then that dude was pretty tough. But
exactly.
it looked to me like there's no way he would have shot back. So he had to shoot first.
He gets to be cellmates with Mr. Adams. Man, I had the perfect opportunity in that scene to use my sound effects, and I was so into the narrative and everything that I didn't even think about using my sound effects.
Charles hasn't got himself into nothing. Kansas might have. I'm still deciding how we should handle it. Besides, I'm on Kansas's side. There ain't no way that guy shot back unless he was a Kurosawa. Yeah, but I'm guessing he shot first. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting scenes mixed up. Yeah, you're right.
I thought it was just the two of them too, but you did say in
Yeah, it
character
is.
Charles. What have you got yourself into this time? But I guess it was a colloquial statement, not a
Yeah, I
direct.
missed that too.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, too, maybe not so much Iris, but but Charles definitely would have known that the first report was a small caliber, like a 22, and the second report was a larger caliber, like a 45. So that right there also tells you that the other guy shot first, since he had the 22 on him. So all the evidence definitely does back up Kansas's story, as at least from the perception of Charles, whether or not he believes him and all that stuff. And now we have two cold-blooded murderers in the group. We have Irene and we have Kansas. Ooh, who's going to be next? I know, I'm just giving you a hard time. What would have been even better yet is if I would have had you make like a impromptu sanity check, to see whether or not you had a flashback, from talking about the mask and everything, and then have you shoot him after having with those failures that you were making. You could have had a temporary insanity episode. Now, Kansas, did you actually tell them that the guys looked like they were of the Negro persuasion whenever the hood kind of got pulled back? Or did you just say two guys? Okay. That's what I thought I saw you say, but I was just making sure. Okay, Cecil, let's jump over to you here real quick. As the two girls are talking, you respond to the summons. You head over to Kansas's hotel room, and you rap on the door. As Kansas looks through the peephole, he sees that Cecil is standing outside his door. I'm assuming that Kansas would have taken off his leather jacket now that he's in his hotel room, and so his undershirt is, or his dress shirt that he has under his jacket, is stained red. The thing that irritates Kansas the most about all of this is that now he has a hole in his leather jacket. But he is kind of consoled a little bit in the fact that at least it's his jacket and it's not a hole in his hat. Okay, so what this is going to require is a surgery roll. You are able to discern that this is, of course, by the victim's own testimony that it's a gunshot wound, and you only see an entry wound and not an exit wound, so you know that the bullet is still in there. Oh no, they didn't do anything strange like that. Yes, it's medicine, Cecil. You don't have to. I don't think uh, a higher success does anything. Oh, actually, yes, a hard difficulty is the diagnosis and treatment in a dirty and unsafe environment with the minimum of equipment. Um, you do have a doctor's bag with instruments. Suitable environment. Not really. Kind of a mix. But yeah, regular should be enough to treat it. I mean, you have your doctor's bag. It's not like hospital, but at least you have a clean bed and everything else. It's not on some third world country city street with llama dung in the streets. So he is going to recover 1d3 hit points with your roll. It does not specify getting any kind of a extra healing. The only thing that changes the difficulty is the conditions in which the medicine is done. Yes, 1d3. Either you can roll it or he can roll it, one or the other. Alright, looks like you get 3. By the time that Cecil is done extracting the bullet out of your arm and putting in a couple stitches and fixing it up, putting some a dressing on the wound, it is almost it's sore, obviously, but it's almost as good as new. You've got a little bit of soreness, you've got a little bit of a couple stitches there, but given a little bit of time, that should just heal right on up, and you'll be no worse for wear. As far as a potential MI6 safe house, let me look at your character sheet. That's typically something that would be along the lines of a contact. Why don't you give me a... what kind of skill roll for your professional contacts? Yeah, we'll go with luck. That seems like a good one. Okay, so uh, yeah, Irene is not in the loop. She doesn't know whether or not there's an accessible safe house here in New York City that she would be able to access.
Yeah, the cops in here do seem shady, and I ain't saying I shot nobody. I mean, I like you and all, but that's stupid.
Is Charles there with Kansas and Cecil?
Yeah, I was waiting at the hotel in case he needed a hand.
Okay.
I'm telling you, the best thing we can do is not be associated with the death of a cop. I can't believe I'm getting mixed up in this. I mean, if I was in my right mind, Kansas, I would arrest you and let you tell your story down at the station. Maybe we should arrest you, and then you can tell the story. I'll back up what I saw. No, I don't think so, but I think I can take you down to the FBI field office just because of that. Or we can play like nothing happened. But whatever we do, we need to get our story straight. Oh, I think it was self-defense, don't get me wrong. I just learned that innocence and justice don't always go together.
Oh, you guys are at Kansas's hotel, correct?
I think we were at mine. Although Kansas might have been a better option now I think about it. You shouldn't have killed somebody while we're pointing fingers. Maybe you should have checked him for some symbols. Whatever we do, we got to agree on it. Right now, I don't think they got nothing that will tie us to it. That man left the restaurant a good minute and a half, 2 minutes before I left. Nobody saw us around that body. They won't even know who he is for at least a day or two. We should just go back about our normal days, buy some new shoes, keep doing what we're doing. Yeah, I agree. We definitely need a new meeting spot. But I'll tell you this: if you start making drastic changes, stuff like that's noticed. Canceling rooms, looking suspicious. Yeah, there's something going on. I want to be very clear here. Charles didn't do nothing. Charles hasn't killed nobody. He's thinking in the back of his head. I'm innocent. How attached are you to your character, Kansas? We could always just carve a symbol in Kansas's forehead and turn him in. Yeah, I mean that. You said that a cop was meeting with some cultists, right?
Alright, time continues to pass as you guys converse in your separate hotel rooms. The two ladies and then the guys in the other one.
So we're either gonna bring this to light or we're not. If we bring it to light, I'm gonna arrest Kansas. If we don't bring it to light, I'm gonna shut up. Yeah, that's I guess I could check some rosters, but again, why would throw up red flags? If I start to dig into some archives and somebody sees me snooping about them, then that's us tied to it somehow. Nobody's got nothing on your connection here. Believe me, I'm going out on a limb here to watch your back. I mean, the most identifying thing they got is that big stupid hat of yours. I mean, I used to like the hat, but now I think it's pretty stupid. Let me correct that. It's stupid if you plan on shooting cops. It's pretty identifiable.
Iris and Irene, as you're in your hotel room, or in Iris's hotel room suite, Miss Hahn, Miss Hahn, open the door. It's the police.
Kansas, put on a jacket.
No, this is
And get rid of that
this
stupid
is,
hat.
This is Iris.
Oh, I'm sorry. The
Iris's
chat's
hotel.
intermingled.
We know you're in there. Great poop on. Where are you hiding, Iris? It's a pretty big suite. And you could try and hide under the bed. You could potentially climb out onto the fire escape. Of course, the fire escape is going to be kind of icy and slippery. And there is the potential that you could easily be seen from the alley. So you don't have very long to respond here. So just make a quick decision on where Iris is going to scurry to. No, it's on the back alley of the hotel. Now, if someone was in the alley, they'd be able to see someone on the fire escape. You could always try to glance to see if someone is out there, patrol car or anything like that. Of course, that's going to take up more time. Miss Hahn, the desk staff has told us that you're in your room. Open the door, we'll be forced to bust it down. Oh yeah, you can easily do that. I mean, you can just stay there and answer the door. I mean, it's your character. What would Iris do? Irene is telling you to hide. What does Iris do? Okay, I'm going to give you the count of 10, Iris. 10, 9, 8. Under the door? Or under... Which door? I don't think you're that tiny where you can hide under the door. Under the bed? Okay, under the bed. Iris Hahn runs into the bedroom instead of wanting to chance the fire escape as Irene has suggested. And seeing that she rushes out of the room, Irene goes to open the door. Irene, whenever you open the door, you see two police officers, uniformed police officers there at the door. And say, "Hello, are you Miss Iris Hahn?" Can you tell us where Miss Hahn is at? Yes, it is a rather serious matter. The staff at the front desk said that Miss Hahn came into the hotel and up to her room a matter of a few hours ago. No, she's not in any danger. We just need her to come down to answer a few questions. No, it has nothing to do with any stolen property. It has to do with a report that she filed recently about that friend that you mentioned.
You're going
And
to
what
spend 62 luck?
and what is your name, ma'am? Oh, Miss Ward. You were one of the individuals that we were wanting to come down for further questioning as well. In the absence of Miss Hahn, then you can come with us. No, these guys are not Robson. You can see that their badges say P. Having trouble coming up with a name here. P. Smith, and the other one is K. Jones. Yes, there's just a few other questions that we have. We want to clarify a few things. It's a possibility we may have a few leads on your friend's murder. We'd like you to come down to the station to help us to clear up a few things. Yes, I'm sorry, ma'am. Your presence is needed. I would think that you would want to come assist us in uh, putting a closure to your friend's case. There's some additional evidence that we need some clarification on. If you could just come down to the office to clear up a few discrepancies or matters that are unclear in your testimony, then that is all that we'll need from you. It won't require much of your time. No, thank you, ma'am. Not while we were on duty. If you'd please just grab your jacket. We have some coffee at the station. We can come back and find your friend later, Miss Hahn, and she can come down and clear up uh, her statement as well at a later date. Your cooperation in this matter would be most appreciated. You can make a charm roll, but it's going to be difficult. Oh.
That's just epic.
What the hell?
That's epic. She has converted them from Cthulhu.
So
I mean, Cthulhu doesn't look this good. Creak, creak.
All right, so Irene, go ahead and play it out. Go ahead and do your narrative. So at first they're rejecting you know, coming in and having some coffee and tell you there's coffee down at the station, and you know, you try to charm them, seduce them, whatever it is that you're doing. Maybe you're hmm. I can't believe Irene is going to kill cops that are just wanting to bring her down to the station to get a clarification on her statement so they can put away a couple killers. Man. Alright, the one guy looks at the other and he's like, look, man, she's not going to come unless we have some of her coffee. You know how those Brits are with their special coffee and tea. Obviously, these guys don't really know very much about that, since Brits actually don't care about coffee. It's the tea that they care about. The other guy looks over at him and he's like, fine, but we have a schedule here. We need to get on with it. They step into the room and they have a seat. Okay, give me a sleight of hand roll. You can get a bonus die because they're not really looking at you, right over the top of you, looking at you. Okay. You bring the coffee over to them. They kind of sip on it just a little bit and like, not bad, not quite strong enough, but not too bad. And it's like, we need to get moving here. So, and then they just down the entire coffee cup. Alright, so what did you slip in there? Your knockout stuff. Alright. Let me look at your sheet here for your knockout stuff. Knockout pills for mixing drinks. Okay.
You just roofied cops.
Exactly. Okay. I know that I have cops in here. The police. Here we go. Junior detective. Beat cop. There we go. Okay. So we are going to make a Constitution roll. Okay.
We couldn't see your dice; they were gray, but we can see your results.
Oh, okay. So I guess they must be hidden or something. Let me look at my
Same.
here. I'll just reveal what they were. Okay, so the one cop, he who downs his coffee, he first, the one is just kind of sipping at it. The other one, who seems to be in a real big hurry, he downs his coffee really fast, and whenever he does, he's sitting there for just a moment, and he kind of gets a little bit groggy, and the other one who's just kind of sipping on his coffee a little bit, just like Iris is. I mean, just like Irene is. Um, he doesn't seem to be getting affected by it nearly as quickly as the one. The one, he sort of starts to kind of droop a little bit in his chair, and he kind of starts to doze as he drifts off. Now let me look at my settings here to see if I have show GM rolls is on. So I don't know why it's hiding the dice rolls from you, because I have it set to show
No,
rolls.
the dice look gray. We can't see them, which is fine,
Oh,
but we can actually see the results.
oh, you can see the result. You just don't see the dice actually rolling.
We
Okay.
see the dice rolling, but it's like a shadow.
Right, yeah, that's a typical thing for the GM, where you don't actually see the physical dice. You just see
Gotcha.
that I'm rolling some. And then if I have the option turned on to where you can see my dice rolls, it shows the results in chat. And if I have it set to where it keeps them hidden, then it only shows you that I made a roll, and it doesn't tell you what it is. All right, so anyway, he's sitting there, and his okay, so he fails at his psychology, and he's kind of sitting there, and he doesn't notice that his friend is dozing off, and that Irene is trying to keep his attention and keep him distracted. as he sips of the coffee. And he's just continuing to sip at it a little bit, and he does not see. Maybe this was a weak dose or something, but this guy, or maybe it's just because he's sipping on it so slightly, unlike his friend who just guzzled it down, that he does not seem to be dozing off or being affected by the drug the way that the other guy was. And then eventually, throughout the conversation, she's like, "Okay, I've had enough. Let's get out of here." He sets his cup down. He looks over at his companion and sees his friend sleeping. He's like, "Damn it, Smith. I thought I told you stop sleeping on the job." And he kind of reaches over to nudge him, and he just kind of shakes back and forth a little bit, and snores a little bit. And okay, I want you to give me a stealth roll opposed by his spot hidden. Sure, I'll give you a bonus die. Okay, you can take him completely by surprise. He doesn't see it coming. He doesn't get a dodge, anything. You get him full blown in the face with the mace. And he screams out, "Oh, it's burning! Ah! I can't see, my eyes! You bitch!" He pulls out his gun. What is your dex and what is his dex? His dex is 60. Your dex is 80. Okay. You get to go before him. So you can waylay him. He's blind. He gets no defense. And just because he's blind doesn't mean that he can't pull out his gun. I mean, you can shoot at sounds. You don't have to necessarily be able to see them. Okay, I'm going to give you a bonus die on your attack. A hard, I do not believe, does anything extra. Except for just, whenever you're opposing whether or not they're able to dodge it or not. Okay, you strike him over the head. It's not a significant enough of a blow to knock him out, although it does daze him, rather significantly. it doesn't drop him or even make him sway and or bring him down to his knees or anything. It looks like he's just kind of momentarily stunned, and he's going to lash out at you blindly. He's going to take 2 penalty dice as he strikes out. Brawl. 65%. Yeah, so he hits you, and so that's going to be a 1d3 plus a 1d4. Yes, you do get to dodge. I'm sorry, should have declared that beforehand. I didn't give you a chance. Yeah, he got a hard, so that is not going to do it. He still gets a hit. So, die 1d3 plus 1d4. And he cold cocks you for 7 points of damage.
Is this going as planned?
As I planned it, or as she planned it?
No, sorry.
Because this is completely off the rails. Actually, none of this was really on the rails anyway. This is all completely, impromptu stuff. But it's fun. It's, I like how it's turning out.
I feel like I'm going to arrest everyone and be like, I stopped a crime spree.
Okay, so Irene, she wraps him over the head, but it wasn't a very strong blow, even though he was kind of taken by surprise. And he does not get to dodge because he is still blinded. So he does not get to dodge against this. So it's going to be a hit as long as she succeeds, which she did. Now, one question for you, Irene. Did that 7 damage, that was not over half of your hit points? No, your hit points are 21. Okay. Alright, so you deal 6 points of damage to him for a total of 9. 6 is not over half of his max, so that is not a major wound. But he does have a total of 9 now. Okay, after you whap him again with a blackjack, he's just in a rage. I mean, he is just like going for broke, and he's gonna again make another just all-out blind attack at you with a -2 penalty. This time, however, he misses.
I just picture like blood splattering all over our Iris's room every time he gets whacked. Nothing to see here.
And so that's another 3. Small hit. She's not doing a whole lot of damage, but I mean she is um is clobbering him, over the head with her blackjack. He's kind of reeling a little bit. He's taken 12 points of damage up to this point, and he is going to again make a blind attack against Irene. He's yelling out curses and swearing. Um, Iris, where you're at, hiding underneath the bed in the living room, you can hear stuff crashing. You can hear cursing and yelling and everything else going on in the other room. Furniture getting knocked around, all that stuff. You can tell that the shit's hitting the fan, out there. Are you going to stay hidden, or are you going to move out to find out what's going on? Yes, his instead of being Smith or Jones, it should have been uh, instead of K Jones, it should have been R Balboa. Instead of Rocky, though, it's Ricky Balboa. All right. Anyway, he's making his attack. Oh, that sucks. Okay, so he
Flies
go
out a window.
not quite a window, but he does go, you know, uh, flailing, trying to punch Irene, and she dodges out of the way, and he trips over the coffee table instead. And whenever he hits the coffee table or trips over it, his head comes down and hits against um, another piece of furniture, knocking himself out. No, no, he's not dead. This is all subdual, non-life threatening in um, damage. Iris says, "Well, you know what? I just do happen to have these hentai ribbons." Yes, they do have handcuffs themselves. Okay, you're gonna pull their shirts off and check them for tattoos. Either on somewhere, usually on the chest or on the back, shoulders, around the shoulder blades or something like that. And you do not see any tattoos on them. Poor Irene. She is just always doing something that looks like it was overzealous. If it's not um, Kansas always going insane, it's Irene, just using excessive force. Okay. And I think this is a good place for us to end it for the night. I just noticed the time. It's 12:17. And so this is a perfect place after we wrap up these guys being cuffed and Irene heading down to the patrol car to move it. Then we'll resume there next time. And so just a quick recap as far as the time of day as we end the session here. It is Wednesday afternoon, just afternoon, 1 o'clock p.m. And we have Iris and Irene in Iris's suite with some stuff going down here. And we have Charles, Cecil, and Kansas all at Kansas's hotel. And we'll pick up from there. All right, so how do you guys like the session? We had some action. We had some interesting action scenes going on there. Some could be some potential plot twists. Some
So far, it seems like we're all going to end up in jail. Except for maybe Cecil.
Except for Cecil. He's the only one trying to save lives. Yeah, you guys definitely, as your characters, definitely feel like the heat is definitely coming onto you now. There's a couple things going on within the story. You guys have been going around asking a whole lot of questions, doing a lot of research, going to the library multiple times, and your habits have been people have been noticing this, and you guys have finally caught on to the fact that the people are now watching you and noticing what you're doing, in addition to you researching things yourself. You have a bit of a timetable that's coming up. You have the full moon will be here in just a few days, and so whether or not that has anything to do with the heat that's being placed on you or not, you don't really know in character. You don't know what the implications are. You don't know whether or not the guy in the alley, whether or not he was gunned down and was innocent. Maybe he was tailing you for the cops. Maybe the cops were keeping an eye on you for whatever reason. These guys, they don't appear to be cultists. They very well could have been bringing you down to the station to clear up a few questions. They could have had some nefarious purposes. That is a good indication that their intent may not have been entirely friendly. I mean, they did come across as a bit threatening at first. And so that was your first indicator that these guys were probably up to no good. Even though you failed your psychology roll, they outwardly seemed, you couldn't tell that they were lying or that they had nefarious purposes, but the narrative, how I presented them did definitely indicate that they were here not for just some friendly questioning. And so then the question remains, what do you do now that the heat is on you and the tables have turned a little bit?
I'm still considering arresting Kansas. Or possibly bringing him to the FBI precinct, explaining what happened.
Are you going to pull the whole Hahn and Chewie thing?
I haven't decided yet. But we know there's crooked cops here, so bringing him to the FBI agent office could be a possibility.
Take him in handcuffed, but he's not really handcuffed.
No, not really handcuff him.
And he
just bring him in there.
And he goes on a rampage and starts smashing everyone's heads in. Burn the place down with his family and everything in it. Man, Irene's hardcore. You can pull a Godfather, and you can cut off the head of the family dog and put it in bed with him. All right. Well, I'm glad we got a little bit of action in on this this particular session. Wake everyone up a little bit. Let you guys know that things are getting serious. It's not just a little bit of freelance research. Now, of course, you don't really truly know what the intention was for these two guys. What they had planned. What they were going to do with Iris. I mean, remember, they came initially for Iris. Why were they coming after Iris first? And then, secondarily, once they found that the Iris wasn't there and it was Irene, then why Irene? The guys haven't had anyone, or Kansas hasn't had anyone knock on his door. And he was one of the trigger pullers. Of course, you don't realize, or you wouldn't know in character, that Kansas hasn't had any visitors. As far as she knows, everyone is all having visitors right now. She could even have some cops at her hotel room right now, and she wouldn't know about it. Alright, so hopefully next time, let's see, where's my... Hopefully next time we'll have Barney with us. There we go. There's my punching attack. I should have been using that one. And that was Iris with her club attack. Alright, I'm going to shut off the stream here and wrap that.